do this. Should I hold this? Louder? Yeah, okay. I don't think are we starting? Alright. I'm not in charge here, so I'm not, I don't want to jump the gun. Hold on a second. We good? Okay. Sounds good. Alright, hold on, let me make sure I have the time. I don't want to run over too much. I'm gonna drink too much water. I'm 35, so drinking too much water is dangerous. I know, dude. All right. Cool. Okie dokie. How you guys doing? Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Happy Saturday, everybody. Yeah, I was saying it's my first time on Georgia Tech. It's very exciting. It's cool. It's like a big ass university in the middle of Atlanta I've never been to before. I was really shocked to find it here. I used to go to Amelie's. Oh, that's my fault. Look at that. I can hear myself now. It's just so weird. I used to go to Amelie's up the street all the time until it closed, and I'd see Georgia Tech students all the time. And I was like, I got university campuses nearby, but I'd never actually been here. It's cool. You guys got a nice campus here. It's nice to be here. So thanks very much for WreckCon to having me out. So if you don't know, my name is Tom Bloom. I am the writer, artist, creator of a bunch of shit you can download online. Kill 6 Billion Demons, the comic, and then my RPG work, including Kane, Lancer, hit game Goblin with a Fat Ass, which was a Twitter meme that apparently has become one of my most downloaded games. I don't know why. I also wrote a tabletop board game called Magna Gothica Malagast, which is a ton of fun. You should try that out. It's like free. It's like $6. $6.66. It's a bit. It's not expensive. It's good. It's a good game. I put it on sale sometimes. Anyway, so yeah, I've lived here in Atlanta for like 7 years. I've been doing this RPG thing for a while. The people at WreckCon had me out today. They decided to let me lecture you all about how to make an RPG, which I think is kind of fun. How many of you guys have thought about getting into RPG design? Ooh, that's a lot of hands. Okay, you're in a good place. All right, creating an RPG. See if this works. It didn't work. Hold on. I'm trying again. And I'm trying again. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You know what, guys? Can you guys... oh, is it not on? This is why you do a technical test. Which button? Switch? It wasn't on, guys. It wasn't on! Alright. Here we go. Creating an RPG. Creating an RPG. No, in all seriousness, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. If you want to get into this business, you have to consider why you want to do this. Why not try a hack? Why not try a hack instead of doing something from scratch? There's a lot of great games out there that are very easy to write content for. If you play D&D, you can write D&D stuff. If you played any Apocalypse World games, they're very easy to write for. Or Blades in the Dark, or OSR stuff like Merkborg, Karen and a lot of the stuff. Like, it's very easy to write for that stuff. Very easy to take someone's system. They've done all the work for you. You can just write content for it. Go write an adventure. Go write a character class. Try it out. It's a great way to get your feet wet in RPG design without having to torture yourself. Because you will torture yourself, believe me. Alright. Okay, you decided to torture yourself. Why? Why would you do this? Because it's a lot of writing. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like writing. It's a pain in the ass. And also, like, you really have to think about why are you deciding to make an RPG? Is it because you want to write your own version of D&D? Do you want to do that? No one's ever had that idea before, I can tell you. You really have to think about like what niche is this filling? What is this? Who is this for? Right? Is it for me to play with my friends? Is it for me to sell? Is it because I just usually I think the best impetus is I want to have a game like this, but there's nothing that exists. So every single one of my games I've written here is because I went to look for a game and it wasn't there. Okay, it wasn't. I couldn't find it. I was like, "What's a mech? A non-licensed mech game?" I went out. I was like, "Was Mech Warrior?" There's Battletech. It's the same thing. Shit. There's a Gundam game. There's something some dudes on 4chan made ones, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. And I was like, "Well, there's no mech game for me." So I decided to write one. And that's why I made Monster. And I was like, "Well, I like weird little tabletop war games, skirmish war games, named Malagots." Kane I wrote because I wanted a Monster of the Week game with weird vibes, and it didn't exist, so I decided to write it. So the best impetus for writing an RPG is, it doesn't exist, Jesus Christ, I guess I have to write it now. That's sort of where all of my work comes from. And I think you'll find the best results if you're going off that impulse as opposed to like, man, I really hate 5th edition D&D. I should really write my own version of that. Don't do that! Don't do that. Step 1. Free yourself. Okay? You decided to write an RPG. Okay, I want you to take everything you think about role-playing games, which for most of you means Dungeons and Dragons. Tony, get it out of your head. Okay, you might have come to this and been like, oh, you might have come to this panel and you're like, well, he's going to talk about world building. He's going to talk about how to write a magic system. No! None of that. All right? We're going to start from fundamentals, and this is much more important. Okay, so get rid of all that shit. Throw it out. Put it in the crusher. Okay? Step 2. Have a good think. Okay, what is your game about fundamentally? So, for example, D&D at its core is about killing monsters and getting loot. It's about going into dungeons and killing things that want to kill you and stealing their shit and putting it on and then walking around and doing that again, right, over and over again. That's what the fundamental thing about D&D. If you look at the origins of D&D, it was a little tabletop war game called Chainmail that became a dungeon crawling game about killing monsters and getting loot. Modern D&D is like that, but you're a superhero. And a lot of people like to play modern D&D like it's sort of a, my gay tiefling OC romance game, which is legit. That's fine. That's a cool way to play. But it's not what the game is about. It's in the game, the rules that are in the book, right? It might be your game at the table, but it's not the rules. The rules are about killing monsters and getting loot. Blades in the Dark, my favorite game, is about being a horrible scumbag, about being a criminal, and you're gonna go on heists, and you're gonna heist some shit, and you're gonna get back from the heist, and you're gonna be stressed out, so you gotta do drugs, and then your drug seller kicks you out, and then you don't have drugs anymore, so you gotta go, and you're stressed, and you're dying, and you've all these things in your sheet. It's about that cycle of violence and vice. Very good game. Monster Hearts, another great game, PBTA game. That game is about being a messy teenager who happens to be like a vampire or something. And all the rules are written like that, right? They're written so think about, what is your game about? What's it about? What's the fundamental thing your game is doing? Okay, so now that we've done that, think about what is the procedure of your game. And remember what I said, okay? Get rid of all the shit from D&D. Get it out of your head, okay? Do we need to roll dice? Are we rolling dice in this game? Do we need resolution mechanics? There are actually lots of games out there, excellent games, which are diceless. They are very deterministic. They're more about the conversation, the social conversation you're having with you, your players, and your GM. Do we have characters? Do you have characters in this game in your head? Sometimes there are games like, I'm trying to think about Microscope, which are about building a world and then not about characters at all, right? They're about doing something else. Is there a GM? Does someone run this game, or is it a game that is GM-less or running between different people? How many people play this game? Is it a solo game? Solo TTRPG games are actually very popular recently. And you can find a lot of them on like itch.io, different marketplaces and stuff. And there's a lot of them out there. So, do you play this with other people? How many people do you play this with? A lot of games are designed to be played with like 3 to 5 people, but then you might find in practice that you have like 7 people at your table. Does that play well when you play it with 7 people? A lot of games don't. A lot of my games don't play well with 7 people, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. Tactical RPGs don't play well when you have 7 people at the table. But think about that. What does a session with this game look like? When you sit down at a table, what are you going to be doing every time you sit at a table? So you think about D&D, you're going to be sitting down, you're probably going to be doing some role-playing, shopping for way too long. You start a fight, you get 2 rounds in the fight, everyone gets tired and goes home. I'm going to shit a lot on 5th edition in this presentation. If you're doing a Blaze in the Dark, you're going to be doing a downtime session or you're going to be doing a score, right? It's very procedural in that way. If you're playing PBTA, Powered by the Apocalypse, you're playing Apocalypse World, the original one, you're going to be sitting down and the GM is going to ask you lots of questions and then he's going to use those questions to fuck you over. That's what a session of games look like. So based on all those answers about what do you need to focus on? What do you need to focus on? What does your game need to be about? So how does it, can you guys see that question in the corner there? How does this contribute to what the game is about? Right? The structure of your game, the procedures of your game, the mechanics of your game, are we rolling dice, are we not rolling dice? What, does that help? Right? Does that help? I would actually argue that a lot of games have, mechanics that don't aid what the game is about at all. And again, not to shit on Dungeons and Dragons too much, but for example, in games like that, or in games like Pathfinder or OSR games, you often heal, you recover by having a rest. You have a sit down with your friends and you chill for like, I don't know, it usually says like 8 hours or a day or whatever. And what that actually forces you to do is like stop playing the game, stop fighting things, stop having adventures, just stop. And you'll have these weird things where you'll be in the middle of a dungeon and you'll be like, guys, we gotta take a long rest, we gotta chill out, we gotta get our powers back. And the GM will be like, you're gonna camp in the dungeon here for like a day? And then the GM has to think of all kinds of ways that can't happen and this becomes a really big point of tension. Why? Well, the game is telling you not to play itself. There's a mechanic that is rubbing up against the narrative there. So you want to make sure that the mechanics, the things, the procedures of your games align with what your game is actually about. All right, another important question. How do you resolve tension in your game? Okay, this is a really good test. Think about your game right now. You got a game, right? Think about it. Okay, if someone was to throw a punch at somebody, if you would punch somebody in the face in your game, how would it work, right? Think about that. What kind of dice are we using? That's important. If you're using a die with a lot of variance and a lot of numbers, like a D20, for example, you're talking about 5% increments. Every increment of the dice is equally as likely to roll as the other, meaning it's very random, it's very swingy, which is fun for things like combat, because anything can happen. You could get a natural 20, you could crit, you could chop a goblin's head off. Amazing, right? If you're playing with a dice pool, or you're rolling two dice at the same time, it becomes a bell curve, meaning that there are certain results that are more likely. That's the Apocalypse World system, for example. That is useful for like predictable stuff. Like, let's say we're making skill checks, we always want to be successful. We're going to use a bell curve. It's not as random. But it's not very exciting for combat. It doesn't work very well for combat because we don't want things to be expected in combat. We want things to be random. We want to run around and be like, oh my god, that goblin just crit me and I die. But you don't even need to use dice. Like, can you pull cards? Can you be pulling cards? Can you use tarot cards? There's a great game called His Majesty the Worm. It's an OSR game that came out. You play that game with tarot cards. It's cool. Are we journaling? There's a lot of journaling games out there. They're really cool. That's how you resolve tension in those games. Are we playing some kind of social bluffing game? There are often games that are they're diceless. And they have deterministic outcomes, as in you can always do X, Y, or Z thing, but you're often measuring that against somebody else. Austin Walker released a game called Realis recently, which is like that. You're comparing sentences, and your sentences have a value, and you might, like, I have a sword, you have a shield, and they're from like 1 to 3, and the GM will say, this guy has a sword and he's attacking you, but you don't know how strong his sword is, so you have to pick which of your things is better. So no dice there, but it's a social game. Are we pulling Jenga blocks or snuffing candles out. There's a great game called Dread. You guys have heard about this. It's a horror game, and you are pulling Jenga blocks in Dread out of a Jenga stack. That's how you resolve tension. And 10 Candles, another great game. That has some dice, but you are putting candles out as you play the game. And again, all these things are going to help align with step one. How does this contribute to what your game fundamentally is about? Okay, very important. Lastly, maybe not lastly. I don't remember. I remember my slides. I'm not looking at the slides, guys. All right. Who is this game for? Okay, is this game an accessible game? Does it have a lot of rules or few rules? I sometimes think that rules actually are important for accessibility. But if you have a game like Pathfinder 2, that is not an accessible game. That is a game where you go to look up how to jump and there's like a paragraph on it, and you're like, Jesus Christ. No one's going to read that who's coming into RPGs and look at it and be like, I want to play this. It's like, no, God, no. It's for the old heads. It's for the crazy people. Who's the core experience of the game targeted at, right? Is this going to bring in new players? Is this going to bring in people who are D&D expatriates, people who are like tactical games, tactical combat, right? A lot of people are there for the board game side of it. For example, I wrote a game called Lancer. Very board gamey, very tactical. Not there if you want to spend 4 hours role playing, right? Not very story focused. The out of combat stuff is threadbare. Point 3 here. Is this game just for you? Okay, is it just for you? Everything I make is for me because I'm a little freak, okay? That's what I like to do. I like to make games that are for me and my specific weird little tastes. But sometimes people like to design games as a hobby. They design games as like a entertainment activity, which is fine. That's legit. You don't have to make a game to sell it, to put it out to market, to do whatever. Are you gonna sell it though? Because you want to consider that stuff. Are you gonna just play test it with friends? Because you want to consider that stuff. Who are you writing this game for, man? Who are you doing that? Okay. Couple more slides. Why is a game not one of these games? This is a question you should be asking yourself. If you guys don't know these, this is Fiasco, World of Dungeons by John Harper, and Knave. And I don't remember who the outside was. So Fiasco, if you guys don't know, it's a game that kind of simulates like a Coen Brothers movie, like Fargo or something, like a heist movie. Something goes horribly wrong and there's a spiraling situation. It's a great game. It's GM-less. You can play it with like any number of people, and it has one resolution mechanic in the entire game, which is you're going to give dice to people. It's very, very easy. It's very, very straightforward, and everything else is just the structure of the game. So you can play an entire role-playing session. Also, it's a one-shot thing. You're done. You play through a session. It's 4 hours. You're done. You put it away. You never pick it up again. You're not going to play a campaign in this game. And I put it here because it's a game that has literally one mechanic in it, and it's over like a board game, and you put it away and you never play it again. Why is the game not that game? Why is the name got World of Dungeons by John Harper, which is literally 2 pages? You guys are looking at 50% of the rules right here. Okay? It works. It works. You can run it. It's a PBTA game. You could run the game and have a great time with it in 2 pages. Knave, also a 2-page game. There's a cover and there's 2 pages in this. I tried to find a picture of it for you guys, but I promise you, it's 2 pages. And you can run entire campaigns in Knave if you feel like it. It has the most threadbare rules you will ever find, but they are functional. They do a job, right? And I don't mean to say everything should be this simple, but what I'm saying is people can get by with 2 pages of rules, okay? Or 1 resolution mechanic and a lot of set dressing. So when you're thinking about designing a game, do you need pages and pages of rules? Do you need 1 good resolution mechanic and a lot of procedures? I wrote a game called Kane's, pretty fun. It has a very good resolution mechanic and a lot of procedures. But there's not a lot of rules that like go outside of that resolution mechanic. You're just going to be rolling a bunch of 6-sided dice and picking the highest most of the time. Very easy. Think about that. Think about that. Don't be writing 600-page RPG manuals with shit that's like no one's going to touch. Don't do that. Lastly, do the work. You can do a lot of writing. You can do a lot of writing, guys. Writing sucks. You're all students, you know this. Writing is the worst, okay? So Lancer, if you don't know, is a 453-page book. I had to write that shit. It took me 2 years. I'm working on a game called Icon right now. I'm rewriting that game. I've had to write and rewrite it. It's 530 pages right now. It's a lot. It's a lot of work. So I would recommend writing a minimum viable product. Do something where you can whip the game out and play it with people, right? Have a couple character classes or character types or whatever, resolution, player-facing stuff. How do you run this game? What's the resolution mechanic? Try running it. Minimum viable product. What's the minimum someone could play this game with? Try writing that first. Can you write it in discrete chunks? If you're writing like a sort of D&D-like game, can you write like 4 character classes and call it a day and just play it like that, right? Playtest the hell out of this. Okay, playtest the hell out of it. Some weird dudes in the OSR will be like, well, don't playtest your games. They're immaculate art objects. I'm like, fuck that. Playtest them. Playtest the shit out of them. When we had Lancer out, that first version of Lancer sucked. It sucked. It was a bad game. And we tested it for like 2 years. It was free. People would just play it. 2-3 years before we took it to Kickstarter. So make sure you hammer it out, especially if your game is a rules-heavy game. Get it out for free. Publish it for free. Okay, I swear to God, publish your game for free on the internet. People will find and play it because people love rating games, checking games out. You don't have to put the whole thing on there. Just put a playtest version out. Put an ashcan version out with no art. Just put it out there. Hey, this is my game. Check it out. People will come and check it out. Publish the game somewhere if you want to publish. You don't have to. If it's just for you, it's a hobby. That's okay. That's actually okay. Social media is fine. itch.io, I would highly recommend. It's a marketplace for publishing and distribution of role-playing games. You can make money on there. It's very easy. I publish all my games on there. That's basically my primary marketplace for all my stuff. You have your own site too. You can use set up like Square or something. Sell stuff through your own site. Put it up for free there. Very easy. Join Discords. Join communities of game developers, people who play games. Get on a bigger games Discord. Like go to the Lancer RPG Discord and go in the tabletop games section and just like hang out there and talk about your game. Right? There's places for you to do that, to connect with people. Do you have $10,000 to $100,000 just lying around? No? Don't even think about printing that shit. Okay? Because that's how much shipping will cost. Don't do it. But if you are, get an LLC, get someone to handle your taxes, because it's going to be a pain in the ass, and run a Kickstarter. Don't do that out of your pocket. It's not going to happen. And then the most important thing I'd say is, man, just finishing the work. Okay, that's why I said on there, do the work. You got to do the work to do the work. The work is the work. Okay, that's it. It's 100% of it. The only difference between anything in your head and anything that's on the paper is that you haven't written it yet. You haven't put the hours in to finish it. So that's why I recommend doing something small. If you want to get into RPG writing, pick your favorite game, write some content for it. If you like to play OSR games, go write a dungeon, go write an adventure. If you like to play D&D, go write a subclass. You know, write it out, get a good feel for it first before you try and do something whole cloth. Because let me tell you, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah. So, I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah. So yeah, those are my recommendations for you. I mean, again, I'm not going to get into like, oh, here's how you world build for your game or write your magic system. No. What is it about? How do you play it, right, at the fundamental level? And how does that contribute to what it's about? Think about that, okay? What are we doing here? And then think about, who is it for? Is it for you and your friends? Are you going to publish it? Are you going to sell it? All those considerations will be very influential on how your game comes out. That's what I say. And throw everything you know about D&D out the window. Just throw it out. You can work your way back to it, but most people that get into RPG publishing, they play a bunch of D&D, they go, I don't like this, I'll write my own version of this. And then they put it out and then nobody plays it because the D&D exists. Alright, I think, how time? Look at that! It's 11 o'clock. We got like so much time, guys. I got time for questions. I think I can hear you up here. They might be getting are you guys gonna get a mic out here for people? No? Just shout at me. Raise your hand, hold on. It's dangerous. Okay. Yes. It's on. I did post it on Twitter and Blue Sky if you follow me on there. Yes. Orbital dropkick. What's up? Yes, I can add it to my Tumblr. Absolutely. Yo, nice shirt, dude. Very cool. Oh, we got a book there too. Look at that. Wow. Incredible. Hello. Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm a nerd who gets in the weeds. My wife also, since I'm very fucking old, you walk around going, the old ball and chain. She tolerates me, like at dinner I'll be like, can I talk about RPGs for a second? She'll be like, yes. So a resolution mechanic is how do you resolve tension in the game, right? Again, my classic example, you want to punch somebody. How does the game handle that? Do we have to roll? Do we just say, I punched that guy? Everyone comes from a background of like D&D, like some video games where they think everything needs a roll. Everything needs a roll, right? Like, I'm going to punch him, therefore I need to roll to see if I hit. Well, that might not be the case, right? Are you Superman and you're just punching a guy on the street? Do you need to roll for that? If I'm Superman and I punch a guy on the street, do I kill him instantly, or do we determine damage, right? Are we using damage in our game, or are we using some more abstracted thing that like has, if I'm Superman, I instantly kill any human that I punch, right? Like anything like that. That's your resolution mechanic. A procedure is like, how do you play the game? And I think that's more of a modern thing, right? So like, for example, in Blades in the Dark, my favorite game. You go on a heist, you go on a score. The rules are kind of a little different in scores. You're stealing shit, you're assassinating someone, you're summoning an evil god, you're doing something. And then after the score you have downtime. And then the rules kind of change again for that. So there's a different kind of procedure, there's a set of rules for each one. How do we go around and play this game at the table, right? I think about a game like Fiasco has a procedure in it. The resolution mechanic is giving light or dark dice to another player. The procedure is we roll to see who goes first, and then you go first. I go. It's like who's taking turns in a board game, that kind of thing. I like rules light but procedure heavy games. So because I think when you have a game with a lot of procedures in it, it helps run itself basically. Monster, for example, has procedures in it. So in Monster, you're a mech pilot. You're gonna get in your big robot. You gotta go on a mission, which is a quantifiable thing, and then after you've done that mission, you're gonna level up. And the mission, you have parameters, you have to figure out what are your stakes, what are your goals, right? All those things help the GM communicate to the players, hey, you're doing this thing, you gotta get in your robots, you're gonna go fight some dudes, and then afterwards we're gonna have a little downtime. I like that stuff. I mean, it's just me, but like, I think a lot of games could benefit from having more proceduralism, and Japanese role-playing games especially. I have not read too many, but I hear they are very procedure-heavy, like Kamigakuri and stuff. Like really, really like, you do this, then you do this, then you do this in the game, because they're easy to run. They're easy to run. Good question. All right, other questions? Yes. Come up here, come up here. I'm sorry, yeah, come closer. You don't want to, here, talk into the mic. How would I define what a procedure was? A procedure is a rule about playing the game, not necessarily resolving tension within the game. It's like a meta thing, if that makes sense, right? Yeah, like in D&D, taking a long rest is kind of a procedure, right? But swinging to hit a goblin is tension resolution, right? D&D doesn't really have many procedures, which is part of, I think, it's probably because it's a very old game that was kind of designed back in the day when we didn't really think about this stuff. It's old technology. We got better technology nowadays. Yeah, I think a lot of more modern RPG designers, they like games with ways things that tell you how to run the game without having to think about it too hard, which is nice. I like that stuff. Any other questions? Yes. Hell yeah.
And as you mentioned, somewhat by accident, one of your most popular games is a one-pager.
Sorry, I still can't hear you.
You focus a lot on like very short games, like one-pagers or two-pagers, and you've written a few. I was wondering if you had any advice specifically on kinds of very efficient mechanics and storytelling that sort of are good for that style of writing.
I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not sure that mic's working actually. That's better.
Testing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, writing short games. You just need a game that has a hell of a good like tension resolution mechanic in it, because you can hang your whole hat on it. Like Apocalypse World, an excellent game by the way, is hung entirely on rolling 2d6 and adding a number to it, and you do that for everything in the game. And you have this whole like move system, which is very neatly designed, and can handle like most situations. So I would say, get that down, get it really tight, get it really neat, and you're good. I mean, if you think about it, like D&D has a very simple resolution mechanic, just rolling a d20 and adding a number to it, and it handles like 90% of things. Which is why I think games in the OSR, they've kind of got a good idea, because they go back to basics. Like D&D has added all this cruft from various editions over time. OSR games are like, what if we just knocked all that off and you're just making skill checks for everything? And I'm like, that's it works, that's fine. And then that's how you can get down to rule games like Knave, which are 2 pages long, because they use that d20 plus stat modifier thing for everything. And they don't have any extra rules, and they just say, well, if you need an extra rule, just write one, or make it up. Which, that's a certainly a style. I don't really like that too much, but that's how you do it. Have a hell of a good resolution mechanic, and write it very tight. What do you need to play this game? And nothing else, right? Do you need character classes for Knave? No, you're just a guy. You might die in the first session, but if you don't, it's a fun time. More Korg is like that too. Very. Also say another thing. Vibes are very important for game design. You might think that they're not, but the art, the vibe of your game, the tone of your game is actually very important, both for setting expectations about people coming in, for advertising your game, and for telling people this is this kind of game and we're going to be doing this kind of thing. If you go and find a RPG, it has no art, it's got no tone to the text, and it's just like, you resolve conflicts by rolling 1d20 plus stat. It sounds dry, right? So you have to make sure your game has a little juice. It's got a little juice to it. It's got to have something cool. Don't write it juiceless. Even Knave, that game I was bringing up earlier, has a cool cover, and then it's laid out in a way where you're just like, ooh, this is so simple and interesting. It's cool. Vibes are very important. Morkborg, a great game with like next to no rules, but immaculate vibes. Heavy metal as hell. Very good game. How do you balance progression? Does your game need progression? A serious question though. So if you think about a game that has like stats and nerdy little things like weapon damage dice and shit, I'm running a game called Icon. It's a JRPG RPG kinda. It's my like fantasy game, and very early on I was like, you don't need to have stat progression in this game. I think it's a trap personally, because what happens in those games is you're level 1 and you swing at a goblin and you're like, I have a 50% chance to hit this guy. And then you get to level 5 and you've added some numbers on and you're like, oh, I have a 80% chance to hit this guy. But that's not really a challenge anymore. So the GM has to throw a level 5 goblin at you now. And you're back down to 50% chance to hit again. It's like nothing has changed. It's just imaginary numbers are going up. And you think you're getting more powerful. So I'm like, dude, just get rid of that. Don't scale anything. Don't progress anything. I think what people like with progression is they like getting cool powers for their characters. They like unlocking more stuff over time. They like the sense of like, I am getting more powerful. But you don't need to necessarily include numbers. So you don't actually have to really balance it in that way. Like Kane, a game I wrote, narrative game, has progression. but it's just about getting more and more cool powers. Like nothing changes about the fundamental numbers underneath. It's just like you just get more powers. Like, and Icon is the same. I'm running Icon right now. There's no stat changes in that game. Your stats are the same at level 1 to level 12. You just get way more abilities. So you both get more powerful in terms of what you can do, but also it's more interesting. You feel that sense of like power progression without any of the numbers changing. So that's what I would do. If you do want to do numbers go up, you know, which I did in Lancer, and if I'm going to do a second edition of that game, I'm going to get rid of that. Just make sure that they're balanced. Well, do some math, you know, but I don't like doing that, so I just cut it out of my games. It's a pain in the ass, and it doesn't really make sense to me to include it. That's my advice. Get rid of it. Don't do that. People like feeling more powerful. They don't necessarily need the number to go. I've had no feedback on any of my games that has no like numerical scaling. No one has ever told me like, oh, I missed my number going up. No one's ever said that. Sorry, the gentleman. Oh, was Broken Worlds my first RPG? Yeah, it was. It's not a very good game, by the way. It's a bad PBTA hack. But I tried hacking again because I was like, well, let me try hacking something instead of like, designing it from scratch, which is what I recommend doing. You pick a game you like, try to hack it. Try hacking Lancer, write something for Lancer. I wrote that because I was like, oh, I just want to run. There was a demand for a game, like people were trying to run. So I do a comic called Kill 6 Billion Demons. And people were trying to write D&D 5e modules for my game, or like classes and stuff, and I was like, fuck that, I'm gonna make a game for this. So I decided to write a PBTA game for it, powered by the Apocalypse. It's like, it's a game system, 2d6, you roll that. I didn't really understand a lot about what makes that system work, which is that it's very attritional, and I kind of modeled it off the Dungeon World, which is a bad game. So it didn't really work very well, but it taught me a lot about like laying a book out, making sure things like worked well, looks good, designing stuff like that. So it was a good experience for me. So I would recommend, if you're going to start out, just write stuff, man. Don't worry about getting it perfect the first time. Your first work is not going to be as good as the next work and the next work after that, right? You just have to keep grinding through it. That's it. So, but if you sit in your ass and you don't start, you're never going to get better. You're never going to get anything to choose. So just get it out there. Get it out there. Try it. That was my lesson. Was like, I can make a game, which is a cool lesson to learn. The same thing with my comics work. Like I was just, I do comics forever online, and I was like, I want to do a webcomic, and then I just did it. I started putting it online, and now I'm 800 pages in, or something, 850 on the Image Comics is coming out with the 5th volume this year, in the fall, I think, sometime. And I bought a house. I bought a house 5 years ago off of my money from making this stuff. So I mean, like, just do it. Just get. It's hard, but keep at it. Yes. How did the RPG work affect me working on comics? I don't think my RPG work had any effect on my comics, but my comic work did have an effect on my game. And then I think, like I said, very important to have good vibes for your game. So whether that's art or writing or what have you, or layout, visual presentation is very important for RPGs. I think so. That was definitely very influential, for sure. Any other questions? Yes. Yes, sir. Oh, what lessons have I learned from designing Lancer that I bring forward into a second edition? I actually have started to write for second edition because I think we want to do it. But don't even. It's gonna be like 7 years, guys. My kids have to be older. A lot of it was like stuff like getting rid of stat increases, tightening up all the tactical bits so it's easier and faster to play. Balancing out, player decision making in combat so it's easier, faster, and has more interesting stuff. One of the problems if you guys assign any kind of tactics game like D&D or Lancer or anything like that. Players will always be like, how do I do the most damage? Because damage is always really highly valued because it solves the problem. The problem is combat. The solution is just to kill everything. So like everything else is kind of, why would I invest in that? It's like I'm just going to pick the thing that does the most damage. It's going to solve my problem faster. So you always have to think about like how do you handle that problem in your game. And I think I've come up with a very good solution with Icon, my next game, which is the damage is actually very capped. There's diminishing returns on it, so you're limited by what you can invest in it, and so you're actually encouraged to do other shit with your life, like cool things like help your allies out or run around or use crowd control or something like that. So yeah, I know I've learned a lot of lessons from it. I think the most important thing for those kinds of games is thinking about the in-person at-the-table experience. A lot of people think about games and they think like, oh, I haven't had this mechanic and this mechanic. I worked on Daggerheart. Are you guys aware of that game? Daggerheart is interesting because they're trying to square the circle by doing a kind of like loosey-goosey, rules-like tactical game. And they're thinking about accessibility. They're thinking about having abilities that are like, just do this and just do that, and it does what it says on the tin. But they had this problem in the game that I had to point out to them where I was like, guys, you have so many effects in this game that are, when this happens, roll a die, and on like a 4+, you get to do this thing. Like for example, a character takes damage. Well, there's like 20 effects like this in the game, and there's no gating of these effects. So, for example, someone might run into an orc, and the orc stabs them. It takes some damage. And then, every single one of their teammates is like, oh, you got stabbed by an orc. My got stabbed by an orc ability activates. Now we're going to stop the game and roll dice, and then we might roll more dice, and it was things that triggered on like health damage, armor damage, evasion, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you could stop this game for 6 minutes just rolling little things like, and you don't want that to happen. You want to think about the in-game procedure and how can you make that quick and easy to resolve and move on with your life, right? Just think about that. Think about it at the table, not in your brain, not in the white room. Right? How are you going to play this with other people? It's very important for those kinds of games. Other questions? We got a little more. Hold on. I don't want to run over too much. Oh, we got so much time, guys. This is crazy. What's up? Art is very important for games. What inspired my art direction for Lance? I don't know, because like I didn't watch a lot of mech stuff. Honestly, the most mech stuff I ever got into is Armored Core. And so when I was thinking about the game design for Lancer, I was thinking about Armored Core, which is you pick a bunch of cool mech parts and you mush them together, and you make a robot, and you're like, that robot is so sexy, and it's so cool. It's got its guns and it swims. That was my inspiration for it. But I don't think visually I really had any strong sources of inspiration. I don't know, I just, like I was thinking about, so I often go, a lot of people look at something and they go, I want to draw like that, I want to do this, and that's a good way to get inspired. Like I like anime, I like this, I like that. I often try to think about first principles with drawing and with design. So for example, the Smith Shimano Corpro, which is they're for the weeaboos in Lancer. It's the Mech Corporation. They're for like the guys who are like, I got my nanoplate katana, I got my leather seats, I got my jet booster, I'm so fast and cool, my mech can go invisible. Those guys. I was like, well, this is like, these guys are like the dudes who they own a sports car and they're kind of annoying about it, right? So I was looking at sports cars for the visual design of a lot of their mechs, right? I was looking at like racing cars, F1 cars, that kind of thing. Not even mechs at all, right? I was just looking at that stuff. IPS Mostar is like the trucker faction. So when I was looking at them, I was like, well, how can I make these guys look very functional and kind of grimy and clunky? They're the most like robot-looking faction of the world. So yeah, and for Horus, which is like the weird techno-cult hacker faction, I was like, what if an AI designed a mech? What would it look like? How much like a bug can I make this thing look? I think I really like the visual direction for that stuff. It's been cool. But yes, that's how I go about doing my design usually. It's not looking at other media. It's looking at like what's the like core design principle here, and then like how can I translate it. So everyone goes and they complain about my mechs, and they go, "These don't look like mechs. Why do these mechs have feet?" Because Mission Model Corpo, they know what they were doing when they gave the mechs feet. Okay. Look, man. They knew what they were doing. It's marketable. That mech has hips. Okay. Why? You know why. Any other questions, guys? We have time for a few more. Yo. How do you decide I'm done? That's a great question, actually. I think you just have to say, like, man, I gotta put this book out at some point. Actually, having a lot of people looking at your work and engaging with it is a really good way to put a fire under your ass. Because by the time we had Lancer out to Kickstarter, it had been in playtesting for like 2.5 years. And people were like, when are you going to finish this game? And I'm just like, And there was so many changes we could have made. We could have done version after version after version of this game. But eventually, me and Miguel, my co-writer, we're just like, man, we got to finish this shit. We got to put this to print at some point. So yeah, having a community, I guess, is really important. When you're like, okay, I think I've learned all I can from this. Let's finish it. Finishing it is more important than getting it perfect. Publishing is more important than making a perfect game. You're not going to make something that's going to fit your vision of something, but you're going to make something people can play, which is more important. So, for like games like Malagust and Kane, it was like I just had kids, and I had free time, so I was like, I'll use it to do these games. And then there was a date. I was like, I'm going to return to work in April, so I better fucking finish this game. Like everyone's like, how do you write Kane? I was like, well, I had a baby, and I had paternity leave, which I gave myself because I work for myself. My boss is an asshole and never gives me time off. And yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go back to work in April, so I better fucking finish this in April. And I was like, up, 8, 9 p.m. People are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing layout, okay? I didn't play video games for like 4 months. It was crazy. All right, okay. Have you ever thought about making an RPG for kids? Well, I have 2 kids, so yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, maybe. I never really thought about it. It's a good idea. I definitely think that's like a niche that has been underexplored for sure. I don't think it's necessarily for me, but I mean, maybe in the future I'll get maybe my son will be like, Dad, these kids at school, they're playing this game. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be like, I'm gonna write something for you. I'm gonna write you a game. I'm hard on D&D, but I'm an old school. I'm an old head. I've been playing D&D since original 3rd edition when I was 12. So and I've run two literally 2 or 3 year plus campaigns of 5th edition. So I played enough of it to be frustrated with it. That's not why I got into RPG design though. I actually have been doing like board game RPG stuff since high school. It was just always a hobby for me. And then I started doing a comic, and I was like, ooh, I should do something else creative with my time that's not doing comics, so I started doing RPGs instead. And then, unfortunately, what happens with me is every time I do that, it turns into a job. So now I have 2 jobs. And I'm looking for a 3rd. I'm like, ooh, what if I got into I could program a video game, that'd be really cool and great. I'm not gonna do it. You know why? Because it would turn into another job for me. And then I have 2 children, guys. I don't sleep. It's crazy. Anyway, let's see how wait. We got like 5 or 10 more minutes. What's up?
What are you thinking about in playtest? How do you incorporate feedback in hour-long sessions to actually make changes to your game?
What do you think about in playtest in shorter sessions to make changes to your game? It's more important to me to focus on how the game feels to people to play than it is any specific suggestions. Because players are bad at game design, okay? They're like, why doesn't this work? And you're like, well, it doesn't work because this interacts with this thing and this thing and this thing. And if you did this, you could basically end this combat instantly and no one would have any fun. But the most important part of that chain of events is the end point. No one would have any fun. it's more important to me that a game is interesting and fun to play and is engaging and smooth to play than it is like, this is a perfectly balanced game, right? Everything is like, how do I do that voice? Everything is like perfectly balanced. And it's more important to be fun and engaging. So I think I would really focus on like, a player is like, this feels bad. This feels bad, right? And you go, what? Why does that feel bad? And dig into that. Like, for example, again, I'm just gonna keep using D&D as an example. There's a spell in D&D called Counterspell, and Daggerheart included it in their playtest. I'm not sure if it's going to come out with Counterspell or not, but it was in there. It's actually in 2 separate decks, which I thought was very funny. And I talked to the designer Spencer. I was like, Spencer, I'm like, get this out of your game now. He's like, why? What's going on? I'm like, dude. So Counterspell tells you not to do anything. It's not fun. Right, your monster goes, ooh, I'm going to cast a meteor swarm and just destroy you, puny adventurers. And then your party member gets to go like, no, you will not. And then nothing happens. And not only does nothing happens on the player side too. It's not like it's cool and you get to do everything else. You just negate things. It just stops gameplay from happening. It's kind of the same in like Magic the Gathering, right? There's lots of counterspell effects in Magic the Gathering. Everyone fucking hates counterspell. Right? Do you like? Are you a blue player? Is anyone a blue player here? Is anyone a blue player? Good job. You're doing a good job. I'm a blue player. I'm an Esper player. But Magic the Gathering, right? What happens with Counterspell? Well, they don't get to do a cool thing. You don't get to do a cool thing because you're saving your mana for Counterspell. It just doesn't make gameplay happen. It's not fun, right? It's not fun for anybody. Or when mechanics are clunky, like the aforementioned thing about Daggerheart, I was giving his feedback. I'm like, Spencer, you're gonna have to roll like 5 dice every time someone spends an armor point in this game. It's gonna slow the game down. Or like, there's a thing that has an aura in Daggerheart. Daggerheart doesn't use any measuring or any kind of grid system. So it's like, who's in the aura? I don't know. Is Boblin the Goblin over there in the aura? I don't know. Ask your GM. But like, there's so many things that go to ask your GM. Everyone's gonna be like, hey, can Boblin the Goblin be in the aura? No, John, the Boblin is not in the aura. You've done this 50 times. You're so far away from Boblin. I didn't say I was over there. I'm over by Boblin because I want him to be in my aura. And then you're gonna have a fucking 10-minute argument with John. John, stop using your aura for Boblin the Goblin. And then you're gonna have to make a Boblin the Goblin rule for your tabletop that auras can only affect, and suddenly you've changed the game, right? So think about that stuff. Feel rather than specific mechanics, because the feel will immediately tell you what's working and what isn't in the game. All right, I think we've got time for a few more. Okay, you raise your hand first. Go on. What's up? Yeah, what are my thoughts on world building? How am I going to pull these games out so I can... Does it work? It doesn't work. This is fine. Alright. What are my thoughts on world building and settings for games? Vibes. Vibes are very important. I mean, that's it. Don't get in the weeds. Don't be, I actually think it's important to leave space for your GMs and players in your game. And not to say too much. Because if you're like, if every D&D game was like, if the D&D book was like full of Forgotten Realms stuff, it'd be kind of boring, right? It'd be like, oh, I can only go to Sword Coast and whatever else is going over here, Baldur's Gate and all that stuff. Like, who cares? Who cares about that stuff? I'm making my own world up. You gotta leave enough room for people to insert themselves and be creative in the setting, which is why I think, like, you look at Lancer, there's a canon setting because I had a writer working who had he had MFA in creative writing, and goddamn he was going to use it, okay? And he did a great job. But I think people love the lore in Lancer. But for me, it was important also to tell people playing Lancer, hey, this is going on over here, and your game can be all the way over here if you want, and nothing will change. And like Malagast is a tabletop board game. It's about necromancers, and there's a lot of lore in there, but it's very sparse and weird and Dark Soulsy, and that's how I like it. It's just like, well, what is this game about? What are the vibes? Well, there's a goth girl and she's gonna kill you. That's the vibes. Well, like Kane is like a weird mix of like Evangelion and Mob Psycho and like I don't know what else, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know. It's like a mix of a bunch of weird. It's like weird goth esoterica. It also has a visual aesthetic informed by like Barba Beats album covers. I was like listening to a lot of Barba Beats on YouTube, and I was like, these album covers whip. I got to do visual design like this, and that was important for me. So I don't know. Just like if you look at the cover to a game, you look at the rules, the art in the game, the world building. What kind of vibes does it give? I actually really like the setting for 4th edition D&D, which is called Points of Light, and it's probably the best setting D&D's ever had. And it literally is just like, the world is wild and untamed, and there are settlements like points of light scattered in between all these places. And it's cool, because it leaves all this space for you to set adventures and have a good time with your players and insert anything you like in there. And I love that shit. It was very cool. So yeah, leave it open. Vibes are more important than specifics. Don't write, and I say this having done this in London, don't write like a 50-page lore section. Don't do that. All right, let's see. How are we doing for time, guys? Oh, look at that. Dope! Should we take like 1 or 2 more questions? Are we good? Are we good? Okay, I'm gonna keep talking until they tell me kick me off the stage. Any more questions, guys? Over here. Yes. Oh, if you have a player, what's the important thing about having a player ability to react to? I think having like any kind of that thing like that in like a tactics game, like a reaction ability is really cool because it makes you pay attention outside of your turn. And you're not like checked out like watching YouTube or whatever. You're like, I can do something. I really like those things, but I think the most important thing is, you got 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Great, awesome. I think the most important thing for that is that it adds to the gameplay and it doesn't negate anything. Actually, here's another interesting principle I would suggest to you guys, and this is for tactics RPG design specifically. I don't know about any other. I think you should make gameplay additive rather than subtractive. So you shouldn't have anything negate something else. It feels terrible, right? And you shouldn't have. Okay, here's the analogy I like to use. You have a box of cupcakes on your table, and there's like a bunch of cupcakes there, and you start handing cupcakes out to players. And then you go around to John over here, and John's like, "Ooh, I got my cupcake." And then the DM goes, "Negative! I use my cupcake snatching move on you." And John's like, "Oh." And then the GM's like, "It's okay, because I can only use that on 1 player around." And John's like, "But I didn't get to eat my cupcake." It feels fucking awful, right? Everyone roll a d20. On a 10 or higher, you can eat your cupcake. Everyone rolls. 3 people get to eat their cupcake. 2 people don't get to eat their cupcake. They're watching everyone else going, oh, these cupcakes are so good. And you're like, I didn't get to eat my cupcake, and I have to fucking look at my phone for 15 minutes while, Jerry the Wizard goes over there and looks at his spell book and is like, oh, I don't remember what the spell does. And you're like, I didn't get to eat my cupcake, Jerry. I'm over here cupcakeless. You're devouring your cupcake very, very slowly, right? So it's about like making sure that when you have a player, players innately are very good at sensing resources in the game. So, if you're playing a card game, it's cards, it's actions, it's whatever. And players know when they're not getting to use their resources at all, or not using them well. They can innately sense that. It's bad feeling. That's why I talk about feelings rather than specifics. So, don't design abilities that are like, this does no damage. Or if you save against this, it does nothing, right? You always want a little bit. There's a game called Doom Eternal. Do you guys know that game? In that game, it's a video game. They made this thing where you have to use certain weapons on certain enemies and stuff, and they kind of try to make you play the game the way you want to. In the previous game, you could use the super shotgun on everything. And the super shotgun felt fucking great. The super shotgun was like, pow, pow, and everything's exploding into gore, and it's awesome, but the designers looked at that and went, oh, they just used a super shotgun, that's not fun. It was very fun. It was very fun. And the second game, they're like, you can't do that anymore. You have to use the bolt rifle on the spider guy. You have to use the grenade on the cacodemon. And if you don't do that, you can eat shit. And I'm like, well, that's kind of fun. But a lot of players didn't like that because you would start using unoptimal weapon setups and different demons, and it felt terrible. It felt the basic verb of the game, which is shooting shit, started to feel really bad because it had bad feedback. It felt terrible. I had negative feelings about it. So anyway, look for that. So I've talked too much. I think I better get off the stage before they kick me off. I got 3 more minutes. Okay, one more question, last one. Boom. Oh, I see. If you're making a more complex RPG, how do you evaluate when to add a system and when to not? I would always just exercise restraint. And just only add systems if you really need them. Like I said, why is your game not Knave? Because Knave is a playable game. People have run, 8 to 10 session campaigns of Knave and had a great time with it. Knave has 2 pages of rules and 1 resolution mechanic. You just make things up, right? He doesn't need systems for everything. I would say just make sure everything still resolves quickly and easily and is fun to play. That's the most important thing. A game should be fun. Controversial opinion, I know, but it should be fun. It should be fun to play. It should be interesting. And fun means different things to different people. So again, know your audience. I might put Pathfinder 2 in front of some people and they'd be like, ooh, nice. There's all these rules for stuff. There's procedures, but also it's just crunchy. I like the crunch. And you might put it in front of a bunch of other people and they're like, holy shit. I have to look up a paragraph on how to jump, and it's not under the jump section, it's under the leap action, under the skill thing in athletics. Like, fuck off. God damn. Nobody wants this. Pathfinder is a classic example. Don't add too much. Pathfinder and the Knave, it's a spectrum. Much like girlhood. I don't know. Alright, y'all. I'm done. They're kicking me off the stage now. I'll be running Kane later in the TTRPG section. I'll be walking around. Thanks for coming out to my TED Talk. I'll see you all around. Follow me. I'm Orbital Dropkick on most social media platforms. I'm on Blue Sky, Elon Musk's The Musk Zone, and Tumblr, and Drumber, and Plurbo. Follow me on Plurbo. Thanks. I don't know how to turn this mic off. Okay, they can't stop me. I can say anything I like now. Oh, I don't know how to turn it off. It's magic. Oh, here you go. This button. Bye.